Good morning, Mr. Barber's students. It is Wednesday the 29th. Now, I'm going to start right off the bat. If you have not already, you should be on the lookout for a video from Mr. Bishop that has an update on grades. I'm getting more information in meetings today, so I will do a full explanation of how it's going to work tomorrow. But for today, let's go ahead and look at what's in the news and what can you do to keep yourself from going mad in quarantine. So first thing in the news is with the updates. First things first, the U.S. economy shrinks. This really isn't much of a surprise. Thank you, buddy. This isn't really a surprise. Sorry, my son was helping. For those of you econ kids, this sounds perfectly familiar. The states are going to outline reopening plans. Now, what this matters for us is we have our governor, Gavin Newsom, did a press release yesterday or the day before where he talked about the plan that we may go back to school early. Now, for our district, this actually isn't that bad. And you can actually see it right here in the article, guys, where we might go back as early as late July. And I know that sounds like a lot, but that's only actually going back to school like 2 or 3 weeks early. So in the end, that's not really that bad or that big of a deal for us. Notably, history kids. So there's your econ and your general and history kids. Here's a fun fact. We are now at over 58,000 deaths, meaning more Americans have died of the coronavirus than were killed during the Vietnam War, which lasted 20 years. The Vietnam War, world history kids, you're going to learn about this week in one of your readings. All right, now, because I have to point these things out, since I know you guys live on the internet, and especially on things like Facebook and other social media that's just rife with conspiracy theories. So here's the new conspiracy theory. A whole bunch of groups of tin hat lunatics are sowing doubt about the COVID vaccine and how it doesn't really work and it's a government conspiracy. There's only one problem. There is no vaccine yet. So the conspiracy theorists are claiming the vaccine doesn't work. That doesn't exist. This is why you have to read your news from multiple sources and not just your cousin's brother's former roommate's Instagram feed. All right, World History Kids, a specific article for you. Relationship between China, the U.S., and Australia are getting more and more fraught. And this week, with some of you reading about the Cold War, you're actually going to get a little bit of an understanding of the origins about why the relationship with China is so shaky. Now, for one thing, it is economic, but it's also political. You guys are going to read about how China becomes a communist or authoritarian country this week. Thanks, kid. This week. And this political divide basically sets up the next several decades, all the way up till now, of tensions. Economics, kids. So, to further the U.S. economy shrink, specifically the U.S. GDP, that is gross domestic product, meaning how much money was produced in the United States, shrank 4.8% in the first quarter. That means that just in January, February, and March, we shrank 4.8%. The original estimation was 3.5. Okay, that is the first negative reading since 2014. Now, it's not as bad as the worst part of the financial crisis, but as you can see, it is bad. It is a significant drop. Now, some of this is simply the result of unavoidable consequences because the fact is the country is shut down during a pandemic. Some of it was avoidable had plans been put in place earlier, and some of it is inevitable only because of the way our economy is structured. Because the U.S. economy has become so stratified in the way it has with these big mega corporations and the emphasis on service industries rather than production, and a lack of worker social safety nets and unions that would have kind of cushioned this damage a little bit, we find ourselves in this situation. All right. And that's the short version. You guys can, of course, read more detailed analysis on things like CNBC or the Wall Street Journal, although they only give you so many articles per month that you can read for free. There's other ones like the Motley Fool that you can go to that'll have updates. All right, last thing, guys. So, ways to entertain yourselves. So this game is called Lords of Waterdeep. This is another tabletop game. And keep in mind, guys, I'm probably going to be including more of these each day. These are not American style. These are pretty much all of these are going to be what's called Euro style games, meaning there's less luck and more strategy. So it does require a functional brain. This one is one that's quite excellent, Lords of Waterdeep. It's not particularly complex. It's a pretty easy game. It's about 60 minutes to 120, so 1 to 2 hours. And it's a good family game because it runs best when you have 3 to 4 players. And it's resource gathering. You do missions, you gather resources, you own business. You're literally a lord or, a member of the aristocracy. You own businesses and buildings. You collect rents. You can send people out on missions. So it's got a fantasy theme to it, but it's very light on the fantasy. And, of course, most points wins. All right, guys, that's it for today, and I will see you tomorrow.